All right, so check this out. We're going deep on this CIA document from way back in 1953.
Oh, wow, 53.
Yeah, November 53.
Okay.
And just to set the scene, the world's kind of still, putting itself back together after World War II.
Yeah.
The Cold War's starting to simmer, and then bam, we've got these 40 photographs.
Wow.
They were declassified in 98, and they're just like landing in our laps, and they're from everywhere.
Really?
Iran, Ethiopia, Iraq, Syria, French Morocco. Talk about a time capsule.
That's incredible. What's so fascinating about this document is that it's not like the usual, cloak and dagger stuff.
Right.
It's like these little snapshots into everyday life back then, infrastructure, transportation, even the kinds of trucks people were using. It's like you're getting this sneak peek through a keyhole at a world that's in the middle of transforming itself.
Yeah, it's like the kind of stuff that usually gets lost, in the big history books.
Absolutely.
So, okay, first stop, Iran, specifically the Baghdad-Tehran road.
Okay.
Photos 1 through 7 really give you a sense of this, super important route.
Yeah, you got to think about it. This wasn't just connecting two cities.
Right.
This was a major artery for trade and communication across a whole region.
Yeah.
Especially back in 53 when air travel was a lot less common.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
A road like this was an absolute lifeline.
And then you see photo 7, and it's this truck, and it's piled sky high with who knows what, just begging for a flat tire.
Oh, wow.
And the document even mentions the road having a broken surface.
Oof.
You can practically feel the bumps just looking at it.
I bet.
What do you think, what kind of shape was their infrastructure in back then?
Well, considering this road was also a key route for the Soviets during World War II to get supplies into the region.
Right.
You could bet it saw a ton of wear and tear.
Yeah.
And this photo with that overloaded truck really raises questions about how much Iran was investing in maintaining it, modernizing it, especially with that Cold War looming.
Right.
It's like, were they trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak?
Uh-huh.
Or were there other priorities in play?
That's a great point. It's like this one photo opens up this whole can of worms about their political and economic situation.
Absolutely.
Okay, so from the potential potholes of Iran, we jump to Ethiopia.
Right.
And let me tell you, it is a whole different world.
Really?
Photos 8 through 15, they cover the Addis Ababa-Assab and Addis Ababa-Gimma roads.
Okay.
And let me tell you, these are not exactly cruising down the Autobahn.
I bet.
What strikes me is just how challenging that terrain is. You've got steep inclines roads that look like they're carved into mountainsides,
Wow.
surfaces that are more like obstacle courses than roads.
Yeah.
It really makes you appreciate the difficulties of travel and transportation in Ethiopia back then.
For sure.
And then photo 10, bam, the Mussolini Pass.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a reminder of Italy's occupation just a decade earlier.
Yeah.
It's almost eerie how this seemingly ordinary road carries so much history with it.
It really is. It's a testament to how even infrastructure can be this powerful symbol of political influence and change.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of change, photos 16 and 17, they give us a taste of Addis Ababa itself.
Okay.
You've got this bustling main square full of life and commerce.
Yeah.
And then right next to that, a shot of a much more traditional street scene.
Interesting.
It's like the city itself is taught between these two worlds.
I'm seeing a theme here, modernization versus tradition.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these photos are showing us how that tension was playing out all over the globe in different ways. What do you think?
Absolutely. And it's fascinating because even though these images are specific to Ethiopia, they speak to a broader trend that was happening across many developing nations at the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're all trying to find this balance between holding on to their cultural identity
Right.
and embracing the allure of progress.
Okay, let's keep that modernization versus tradition idea in mind as we move on to Iraq.
All right.
We're about to see some interesting examples of that very tension in action. Photos 18 through 21 document Baghdad's efforts to, step into the modern age.
Indeed. And you can see it right away with photo 18.
Yeah.
These sleek, brand new AEC buses cruising through the city. Now, AEC, that was a British company.
Okay.
So this choice of bus tells us something about Iraq's international relations.
Yeah.
And their aspirations for their capital city.
It's a bit like saying, hey, world, look at us. We're moving forward.
Exactly.
And then you get to photos 19 through 21, and it's all about the Wadi Tharthar project.
Oh, right.
Huge undertaking.
Massive. This is an irrigation project intended to transform Iraqi agriculture.
Wow.
And the photos themselves, they're almost incidental to the project scale. They happen to show all this heavy machinery, Caterpillar tractors, a Euclid dump truck.
Wow.
But what's really important is what those machines represent, this desire to control and shape the very landscape, to modernize agriculture on a grand scale.
And not just agriculture, but the whole economy, potentially.
Exactly.
It's a bold statement, but hold on. Before we get too caught up in Iraq, let's hop over to Syria.
All right.
Photos 28 through 32 zero in on, you guessed it, transportation and infrastructure.
And this section of the document is particularly intriguing because it shows Syria trying to bridge this gap between its historical role as a trade hub and its desire for a more modern, connected future.
Interesting.
You see this stark contrast between Photo 28, which is this sleek, modern highway cutting through the landscape, and Photo 29, which depicts the bustling, almost chaotic energy of the Latakia waterfront.
It's like they're trying to have the best of both worlds, embracing the efficiency of modern transportation while still holding on to their traditional role as this vital trading post.
Exactly.
I'm also noticing a lot of trucks in these photos. Are those the Iraq Petroleum Company trucks mentioned in the document?
Exactly. Photos 30 through 32 clearly show the Iraq Petroleum Company's heavy-duty trucks.
Wow.
And those are far more than just vehicles.
All right.
They represent the growing oil industry in the region and its potential to reshape the entire economic landscape. We're talking about a shift in power dynamics, potential wealth, and even international influence.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple photos can hint at such complex geopolitical shifts.
It really is.
But you know what? I'm getting the feeling that those trucks are about to take us on a journey across the Mediterranean.
Oh, yeah. Where are we headed?
Ready to see what France and French Morocco have in store for us?
Absolutely. And I have a hunch the contrasts we've been seeing are only going to get more pronounced as we delve into the next set of photos.
All right.
There's a lot to unpack.
All right. So picture this. We're leaving those bustling ports and the deserts behind.
Okay.
We're hopping over to Europe photos 22 through 27. Give us a glimpse of France.
Oh, right.
And it's like stepping into a whole different world compared to what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it really is a striking shift. You can immediately sense that France is in a different phase of its post-war recovery.
Yeah.
Photos 22 through 25, they showcase well-maintained roads, bustling cities, a sense of energy and progress.
It's interesting the document even mentions tourist stuff in photo 24.
Oh, really?
It makes you realize that even amidst all the Cold War tension, people were starting to travel and explore again. It's like this little spark of normalcy returning to the world.
And that resurgence of tourism was actually a significant factor in France's economic recovery.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it brought in much-needed revenue and helped project this image of stability and optimism to the world.
Then we see photos 26 and 27.
Okay.
And it's all about these massive Berlier trucks in Marseille.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a symbol of industrial might.
Berlier was a powerhouse in the French automotive industry, known for their heavy-duty trucks and buses.
Yeah.
These photos highlight France's focus on manufacturing and their ambition to reclaim their position as a global industrial leader.
You know, seeing those trucks cruising through Marseille makes me think back to those overloaded trucks we saw in Iran.
Yeah.
It's like two sides of the same coin. Both countries trying to rebuild and modernize, but with vastly different resources and approaches.
That's a really insightful connection.
Yeah.
It underscores how the post-war recovery wasn't a one-size-fits-all process.
Right.
Each country had its own unique set of challenges and opportunities.
Sure.
And these photos, they capture those nuances beautifully.
Yeah.
But hold on. Before we get too deep into comparing trucks, let's shift our focus to French Morocco.
All right.
I think you'll find the contrast even more stark.
Oh, I'm ready for it. Bring on the contrasts.
All right.
Photos 39 and 40 immediately grabbed my attention. The Zaluja mines.
Oh, yeah.
Those look like something out of an adventure movie.
The Zaluja mines were a major source of lead and zinc, resources that were essential for France's industrial growth.
Right.
These images, while seemingly mundane, actually reveal a lot about the complex relationship between France and its colony.
Yeah.
We're talking about resource extraction, economic dependency, and the lingering legacy of colonialism.
It's a reminder that the modernization we're seeing in France was in part fueled by the resources extracted from its colonies.
Absolutely.
And those colonies, like Morocco, often experienced modernization on very different terms.
Right.
It wasn't always a story of progress and prosperity for everyone involved.
Precisely. These photos challenge us to look beyond that shiny facade of modernization.
Yeah.
And consider the complexities and inequalities that often lie beneath the surface.
Right.
And that complexity is further highlighted in photos 33 through 35, which depict life in rural Morocco.
Okay.
We see a road winding its way through the Atlas Mountains, leading to what the document describes as typical native living quarters.
Wow.
It's a world away from the bustling cities and industrial landscapes we've seen in France.
It's like these photos are reminding us that even back in 1953,
Yeah.
the world was this tapestry of different cultures, different ways of life,
Uh-huh.
all coexisting in this fascinating, ever-changing landscape.
It really is.
And it makes me wonder, did the people living in these rural communities in Morocco feel connected to the events unfold in Europe and the wider world? Or did their lives revolve around more immediate concerns?
That's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
I think it highlights how our perception of history is often shaped by those dominant narratives,
Right.
the stories that get told and retold.
Yeah.
But these photos, they offer a glimpse into the lives of those who were often on the margins of those grand narratives, those who experienced the currents of modernization in very different ways.
It's wild, right? As we're wrapping up this journey through 53, I can't help but think about how these 40 photographs have given us such a clear picture of a world that's like right on the edge of huge change.
It really is remarkable. Each image is just this frozen moment in time.
Yeah.
Yet when you put them all together, they tell a story about global trends,
Yeah.
technological advancements, those contrasting experiences with modernization we've been talking about.
It's true. From those trucks barely making it over those rough roads in Iran to those shiny new buses in Baghdad and then those massive burly 8 trucks in France,
Wow.
all happening at the same time as we see life in Ethiopia and Morocco. It's been a trip.
It really has. And, that contrast you mentioned, that's got to be the biggest takeaway for me.
Oh, for sure.
It reminds us that even though we talk about historical events in these big sweeping terms,
Yeah.
the reality for people on the ground was much more complicated.
Absolutely.
For some, 1953 was a time of opportunity and progress, but for others, it was more of the same,
Yeah.
struggling, just trying to deal with all these changes they couldn't control.
And it really makes you think, what stories are we missing, right?
For sure.
I mean, we're seeing the world through a very particular lens, the CIA, no less.
Right.
And even then, these 40 photos are just a tiny piece of what was happening all over the world.
Exactly. That's what's so great about exploring history.
Yeah.
There's always something more, to find more perspectives, to think about, more layers to peel back.
That's true.
These images, they've given us a starting point.
Yeah.
But they're also like an invitation to dig a little deeper.
Uh-huh.
Ask some new questions. Try to find those stories that haven't been told that might challenge what we think we know.
It's funny, looking at these photos from 1953 makes me wonder about our own lives.
Yeah.
What will people in the future think when they see our photos? What'll our roads and cities and stuff tell them about us?
It's a great question. Will they see this time as a time of crazy technological advancement? Or maybe focus on the problems we had, like with the environment or society?
Right.
Will they be amazed by how connected everyone is, or will they be sad about how divided we were? It really makes you think about what kind of mark we're leaving on the world, whether we mean to or not.
I think that's the main point of this whole deep dive, right?
Yeah.
History's not just about dates and events.
It's the stories of people.
Yeah, it's about choices and challenges and what we leave behind.
Absolutely.
And who knows, maybe someday someone will find a bunch of photos from right now.
Yeah.
And be just as fascinated as we were by these little glimpses into 1953.
Totally. And who knows what those people will learn or what questions they'll ask or what connections they'll make that we never even thought of. That's what's so cool about history. It's like a conversation that never ends, always changing, always inviting us to learn from the past in new ways.
I love that. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into 1953. We hope you enjoyed coming along with us. And just remember, history is everywhere. Just got to keep your eyes open, stay curious, and who knows what you'll find.